Judge Morrison's gavel strikes the wooden block with finality. The sharp crack echoes through the courtroom like a gunshot. Motion granted. The court will allow Mr. Thornton additional time to review the medical records. My stomach drops. Again. The 5th delay in 8 months since Mom died. I grip the edge of the polished mahogany table until my knuckles turn white, watching my father lean toward his attorney with that smug expression I've come to loathe. Victor Thornton, distinguished investment attorney and master manipulator, whispers something to his lawyer, Philip Crane, that makes both men smirk like they've just pulled off the con of the century. My pulse hammers in my ears. Sweat beads along my hairline despite the courtroom's aggressive air conditioning in the Denver courthouse. The familiar tightness constricts my chest like a vice, making each breath shorter than the last. I count silently, 1, 2, 3, trying to use the techniques my therapist taught me for managing panic attacks. Your Honor, my father says, rising with practiced concern that would convince anyone who didn't know him. We respectfully request additional time to review Mrs. Brennan's medical records. There are certain inconsistencies regarding her treatment decisions that may significantly impact the distribution of assets. Assets. That's what Mom's life has been reduced to in this cold, sterile courtroom. $92,000 in savings that she scraped together over 14 years. A modest 2-bedroom bungalow in Boulder where she rebuilt her life after the divorce, brick by brick, paycheck by paycheck. The antique mahogany desk passed down through 4 generations of her family, dating back to the Civil War era. All that remains of Diana Thornton. No, Diana Brennan. She reclaimed her maiden name after the divorce, a small victory in a war she never wanted to fight, a declaration of independence from a man who'd stolen 17 years of her life. Now I'm fighting the same opponent, watching him manipulate the system with the same calculating precision, just like before. History repeating itself, except this time I'm the one standing in the arena. Mr. Thornton, says Patricia Santos, my attorney and former law school friend, her voice sharp with barely contained frustration. This is the 5th such request. Ms. Thornton has provided complete medical records twice already. We have documentation from 3 separate oncologists, the hospice care facility, and multiple hospital stays. What possible inconsistencies could remain? Judge Morrison merely nods, his eyes already moving on to the next item on his docket, like we're nothing more than a minor inconvenience in his busy day. The outcome was decided before we walked in. I can see it in the way he avoids making eye contact with Patricia, the way his shoulders relax when my father speaks. How is this happening? Victor already took everything in the divorce settlement 14 years. Ego, the house in Cherry Creek, the vacation condo in Vail, most of the retirement accounts. Why this too? Why can't he let Mom have the small dignity of her final wishes being honored? I close my eyes and I'm 15 again, standing in our spacious kitchen with its granite countertops and stainless steel appliances, as Mom tells me, through tears, that Dad won't be coming home. His affair with Rebecca Caldwell from his office had been going on for 8 months. A younger woman with no baggage, no history, a fresh start that didn't include a wife of 17 years, and a teenage daughter who reminded him of his responsibilities. The memory shifts like slides in a projector. Mom, in her paralegal uniform, working at Morrison & Associates downtown, making ends meet on a fraction of what she used to have while Victor thrived. He made senior partner, bought a lake house in Grand Lake, married Rebecca within a year. She never complained, never spoke ill of him in my presence, despite having every right to. He's still your father, she'd say when I'd rage about his betrayals, though her eyes always told a different story, one of pain carefully buried beneath dignity and grace. Patricia squeezes my hand under the table, her manicured nails pressing gently against my palm. Don't let him see he's getting to you, she whispers, her voice barely audible over the rustling of papers and muted conversations around us. That's exactly what he wants. He feeds on your frustration. I open my eyes and study Judge Morrison's face more carefully, the slight tilt of his head when my father speaks, as if hanging on every word. The dismissive glance when Patricia objects, like she's a mosquito buzzing around his head. the way his mouth curves ever so slightly upward when he rules in Victor's favor. It goes beyond professional courtesy or even favoritism. Something else is happening here, something beneath the surface that I can't quite see but can definitely feel. Something beyond normal legal wrangling. I can't take it anymore. The injustice burns in my throat like acid. Before Patricia can stop me, I rise to my feet. My chair scrapes loudly against the floor, drawing every eye in the courtroom. Your Honor. My voice is steadier than I feel, powered by months of pent-up fury and grief. We've already provided complete medical records, twice. Both submissions were over 300 pages long. My mother's oncologist, Dr. Sarah Richardson, confirmed her diagnosis and treatment plan in a notarized affidavit. There were no inconsistencies in her care. She was of completely sound mind until the very end. This is a deliberate stalling tactic designed to... Counsel, control your client, Judge Morrison interrupts, his tone sharp as broken glass. The courtroom falls silent. You could hear a pin drop. My father's expression hardens, his jaw clenching, his mouth becoming a tight line of displeasure at my interruption. I've disrupted his carefully orchestrated performance. My daughter is understandably emotional about her mother's passing, Victor says smoothly, his tone dripping with condescension that makes my skin crawl. He's using that voice, the one that sounds sympathetic to outsiders, but I recognize as pure manipulation. Losing a parent is never easy. It's been difficult for all of us during this tragic time. All of us? The words nearly make me laugh out loud. He hadn't visited Mom once during her 8 months of chemotherapy, 12 weeks of radiation, and finally 6 weeks of hospice care. Not once. Not when she lost her hair. Not when she couldn't keep food down. Not when she was too weak to walk to the bathroom alone. Not even when she begged me to call him one last time because some part of her still hoped he might show a shred of humanity. Judge Morrison removes his glasses, pinching the bridge of his nose in a theatrical gesture of patience. I understand your frustration, Ms. Thornton, but these matters require thorough examination. Your father has raised legitimate concerns that this court must address according to proper legal procedure. That's how our justice system works. Legitimate concerns. The phrase is a joke, a mockery of everything law school taught me about justice. Each ruling chips away at what little Mom left behind. If Victor succeeds in this war of attrition, I lose not just the inheritance, but her final act of independence. The home she made with her own hands, painting walls and planting gardens. The savings she scraped together dollar by dollar, the family heirloom she wanted me to have, carrying generations of our family history. Document every irregular ruling, Patricia whispers urgently as I sink back into my seat, my legs trembling with adrenaline. Every single one. We're building an appeal. This pattern of bias is becoming undeniable. I nod mechanically, but we both know the truth that neither of us wants to say aloud. Appeals cost money I don't have. As a social worker in Denver, my salary barely covers my student loans, rent, and basic necessities. I'm drowning in debt from law school, which I never finished after Mom got sick. Victor knows this. He's counting on it. He's counting on me running out of money, running out of fight, running out of hope. Court is adjourned until December 18th, Judge Morrison announces, gathering his papers with an air of finality. Parties are instructed to submit any additional documentation no later than December 11th. This court expects full cooperation from both sides. Another month of this. Another month of watching my father systematically dismantle my mother's final wishes, while a judge who clearly favors him enables the whole charade. Another month of bleeding money I don't have into legal fees, while Victor pays his attorneys from his seemingly bottomless pockets. The gallery begins to empty. I watch the back of my father's head as he walks out with Philip Crane, both men laughing about something, probably celebrating another victory. Rebecca waits for him at the courtroom doors, her designer outfit probably costing more than my monthly salary. She glances at me briefly, and I see something in her eyes. Is it pity? Guilt? I can't tell before she looks away. After the hearing, Patricia walks with me to my car in the courthouse parking garage. Our footsteps echo against concrete as we weave between vehicles, the fluorescent lights casting everything in a sickly yellow glow. The garage smells of exhaust and damp concrete. "This isn't normal procedure, Morgan," she says, checking her phone as we walk. Morrison's rulings are consistently outside standard probate protocol. I've been making calls to some colleagues who practice before him regularly, comparing notes. And I unlock my 12-year-old Subaru, tossing my briefcase onto the passenger seat. The car was Mom's before she got too sick to drive. I can still smell her perfume sometimes, faint but unmistakable. Patricia leans against the car door, her expression troubled. He doesn't usually behave this way. In other cases, he's actually quite fair, even progressive. Something about your case is different. Something is making him rule consistently in your father's favor, regardless of legal merit. My phone vibrates in my pocket before I can respond. Unknown number with a Maryland area code. I almost decline it out of habit, probably a spam call, but something makes me answer at the last moment. "Is this Morgan Thornton?" A woman's voice, unfamiliar but authoritative, controlled, the voice of someone used to being listened to. "Yes, who's calling?" "My name is Catherine Hayes. I knew your mother from years ago. I found out about the case through some old contacts. We need to talk. It's urgent." I glance at Patricia, mouthing, "Who is it?" She shrugs, her eyebrows raised in question. "I worked with Diana in Naval Intelligence," the woman continues, her voice lowering to barely above a whisper. "Before she met your father, before you were born." Mom rarely talked about her military service, just vague mentions that she'd done administrative work for 6 years before college, where she met Dad. Nothing that suggested important connections or classified work. Nothing that would matter decades later. "Your mother kept things from that time," Catherine says, each word carefully chosen. "Documents, records, things that matter now. Things that might help you understand what's really happening with your inheritance and why your father is fighting so hard." My breath catches in my throat. "What things? What are you talking about?" "Not over the phone. Can we meet tomorrow? Somewhere private where we won't be overheard?" I hesitate as looking at Patricia, who raises an eyebrow questioningly, silently asking if everything is okay. I don't know how to answer that. "I'll text you an address," Catherine says before I can respond. "Noon tomorrow. Come alone. This is important, Morgan. Your mother left you more than an inheritance. She left you the truth." The line goes dead. I stare at my phone screen, uncertain whether to trust this mysterious caller or continue fighting a battle that seems increasingly rigged against me. What could Mom have possibly kept hidden? What truth? "What was that about?" Patricia asks, concern etched on her face. I stare at my phone, at the blank screen where a stranger just upended everything I thought I knew about my mother. "Maybe nothing," I say finally. "Maybe everything." I think about Mom's final days in that hospice room with the awful floral wallpaper, how she'd made me promise to fight for what was rightfully mine, how she'd squeezed my hand with surprising strength for someone so ravaged by disease and said, "Don't let him take this too, Morgan. Promise me you'll fight." My mother deserved better than this, I tell Patricia, feeling a new resolve hardening inside me like steel. I won't let them erase her legacy. I won't let them win. The next day, sunlight filters through the coffee shop windows, casting long shadows across the worn wooden table between us. I arrive 20 minutes early at The Grind, a small cafe in Boulder, far from Denver's legal district. I've been scanning every patron as they enter, not knowing what to expect from a woman who claimed to know secrets about my mother, secrets involving Naval Intelligence and hidden documents. Catherine Hayes walks in precisely at noon. Mid-50s, steel gray hair pulled into a practical bun, sharp blue eyes that miss nothing. She doesn't look around searching for me. She walks directly to my table, extending her hand with military precision. Morgan Thornton. Not a question, a statement of fact. Her handshake is firm, efficient, the grip of someone who's trained in hand-to-hand combat. I can see it in the way she moves, controlled, aware of her surroundings, assessing threats. "You knew my mother." Also not a question. She settles into the chair across from me, orders black coffee when the server approaches, then waits until we're alone again. Her hands rest flat on the table, no fidgeting, no unnecessary movement. This is a woman who knows how to wait, how to watch, how to survive. Your mother was Navy Signals Intelligence in the late 90s, she says, voice low but clear. Assigned to Operation Copper Shield, not the administrative assistant story your father spread after the divorce. My coffee cup freezes halfway to my lips. That can't be right. Mom worked office jobs before college. That was her story. That's what she always told me. That's what she needed you to believe for your own protection. Catherine pulls out a thin manila folder from her bag, sliding it across the table. Diana was part of a team monitoring international financial crimes, money laundering operations run by some very powerful people. We tracked millions of dollars moving through shell companies. I open the folder with trembling hands. Inside are photographs. My mother, 20 years younger, in a Navy uniform I've never seen. Official-looking documents with heavy redaction marks, names I don't recognize, connected by hand-drawn lines on what looks like an organizational chart. Why are you showing me this now? Because Victor Thornton is one of those names, Catherine says, tapping a photograph at the bottom of the stack. The world tilts. I grip the table edge as my vision tunnels. There, in a surveillance photo dated 1997, 2 years before my parents married, is my father. Younger, thinner, but unmistakably him. He's standing outside a building with another man, both carrying briefcases, both looking over their shoulders like they're worried about being watched. Your mother was investigating a network of attorneys who were helping clients hide money offshore, Catherine continues. Victor was one of them. Is still one of them, actually, though he's gotten much more sophisticated over the years. But they got married. They had me. Why would she marry a man she was investigating? Catherine's laugh is bitter. She went undercover, Morgan. She was supposed to get close to him, gather evidence, then disappear. But something went wrong. What went wrong? She fell in love with him, or thought she did, or maybe he was just that good at manipulation. Catherine shakes her head. Diana left the operation, resigned her commission, thought she could leave that life behind and build something real. She thought Victor had left his criminal activities behind too. The coffee shop noise fades to background static. I can only focus on Catherine's words, each one rewriting my entire history. But he didn't leave it behind, I whisper. No, he got better at hiding it. Your mother figured it out about 6 years into the marriage. Found evidence that he was still laundering money for criminals, terrorist organizations, drug cartels, anyone who paid his fees. She started documenting everything again, secretly, just like she'd been trained to do. The affair, I say suddenly, understanding dawning. The divorce. That wasn't about Rebecca Caldwell, was it? Catherine nods slowly. Diana threatened to expose him. He manufactured the affair story, made her look like the emotional wife who couldn't handle her husband's success, destroyed her credibility before she could use the evidence she'd gathered. Classic deflection tactic. Why didn't she go to the authorities? Why not turn him in? Because he threatened you. Catherine's voice softens for the first time. Told her that if she ever used that evidence, if she ever tried to expose him, you would have an accident. He was very specific about what kind of accident. Diana believed him. She knew the kind of people he worked for. My hands are shaking so hard I have to set down my coffee cup. So she just lived with it, knowing what he was? She did what any mother would do. She protected her child, but she didn't stop gathering evidence. Every document, every transaction, every connection, she kept records, and when she got sick, when she knew she was running out of time, she put it all somewhere safe. The mahogany desk, I breathe. That's why he wants it. Catherine smiles grimly. Your mother was brilliant. She hid everything in plain sight, built into that desk's secret compartments. Generations of your family used those compartments for love letters and old photographs. Diana used them for evidence that could destroy your father and about 40 other powerful people. But he doesn't know for sure that's where it is? He knows she had evidence. He doesn't know exactly where or how complete it is. That's why he's stalling in court. He's trying to search everything before you find it first. And Judge Morrison is on his payroll, I finish, or compromised somehow. Morrison's son got arrested 3 years ago for drug trafficking. Charges mysteriously disappeared. Your father handled it quietly, and now Morrison owes him. I feel sick. The scope of the conspiracy is overwhelming. Why are you telling me this? Why now? Catherine's expression becomes intense, because Diana made me promise that if anything happened to her, I'd make sure you knew the truth. She wanted you to have a choice that she never had, the choice to fight back or walk away safely. Either way, you'd know who your father really is. If I expose him, he'll come after me. You said he threatened me before. He threatened a child. You're not a child anymore, Morgan. You're a trained lawyer who knows how to navigate the system, and you won't be alone. Catherine slides a business card across the table. I work for an agency that would very much like to see Victor Thornton and his network finally face justice. If you decide to fight, we'll have your back. Full protection, witness security if needed, resources to fund the legal battle. I stare at the card. It's blank except for a phone number. But it has to be your choice, Catherine continues. Diana made me promise I wouldn't force you. You can walk away right now, let Victor win the court case, take whatever settlement he offers, and live your life. He'll probably leave you alone after that. Probably. There are no guarantees with men like your father, but if you come after him with this evidence, it's war, total war. He will use every resource at his disposal to destroy you. Are you ready for that? I think about Mom in that hospice bed, gripping my hand, begging me to fight. I think about 14 years of watching her struggle while Victor prospered. I think about sitting in that courtroom, watching Judge Morrison enable his corruption. Where's the desk now? I ask. Catherine smiles. It's not a warm smile, it's the smile of a predator who's found an ally. Your mother's storage unit. Patricia Santos arranged it. She's actually one of the few people Diana trusted. The desk is safe, waiting for you to open those compartments. Patricia knows about all this? She knows some of it, not everything. Diana was careful about how much she told anyone, but Patricia suspected something was wrong with Morrison's rulings. That's why she contacted me. I stand up, my decision made. Let's go get that desk. The storage unit is in a nondescript facility outside Boulder, rows of orange doors stretching in every direction. Patricia meets us there, her expression tight with anxiety. Your mother paid for this unit 5 years in advance, she says, unlocking the heavy padlock. She told me if anything happened to her, I should make sure you got access to it exactly 8 months after her death. Why 8 months? She said you'd need that time to see Victor's true nature in court. She wanted you to understand what kind of man you were dealing with before you saw what's inside. The unit door rolls up with a metallic screech. Inside is sparse, just the mahogany desk, covered with a protective sheet, and a few boxes labeled with my mother's handwriting. The desk looks exactly as I remember it from my childhood, commanding and elegant with its intricate carvings and brass hardware. Catherine runs her fingers along the desk's edge with expert precision. Your mother mapped out every compartment for me once. She wanted to make sure someone besides her knew how to access them if something happened. She presses a specific point in the carved design. A small drawer pops open. I'd seen this one before, had kept trinkets in it as a child, but then Catherine presses 2 more points simultaneously, and a larger hidden compartment opens in the back panel. Inside are files, dozens of them. USB drives, external hard drives, photographs, all meticulously labeled and organized. My God, Patricia whispers, pulling out a file labeled Thornton Network, Overseas Accounts. I pick up another, Morrison Judicial Bribery, and another, Client List, Criminal Enterprises. She documented everything, I say, awed by the scope of my mother's work. For years, she never stopped. Catherine nods. Diana was many things, but she was never someone who gave up. She just changed tactics. I open a file at random. Inside is a transaction record showing my father transferring $2.3 million through 3 different offshore accounts for a client named Victor Kushner. A quick search on my phone tells me Kushner is a known arms dealer with connections to Eastern European crime syndicates. Another file documents how my father helped a pharmaceutical company hide $47 million in profits to avoid paying taxes and lawsuit settlements. The company had knowingly sold contaminated medication that killed 16 people. File after file reveals the same pattern. Victor Thornton, using his legal expertise to help criminals, corrupt corporations, and terrorists move money, hide assets, and evade justice, and collecting massive fees for his services. This is enough to put him away for life, Patricia says, her voice filled with wonder. Multiple life sentences, and dozens of others with him. Including Judge Morrison, I add, holding up evidence of $150,000 in payments disguised as consulting fees. Your mother was building a case, Catherine explains. Not just against Victor, but against the entire network. She wanted to bring down the whole corrupt system, not just one piece of it. I sit down heavily on a plastic crate, overwhelmed. Why didn't she do it herself? Why leave it for me? Catherine kneels beside me, her voice gentle. Because she knew what it would cost. Your father told her that if she ever used this evidence, you'd pay the price. As long as she was alive, he had leverage over her. But she also knew that once she was gone, that threat lost some of its power. You'd be an adult, capable of defending yourself, and she trusted that you'd make the right choice. What is the right choice? I ask helplessly. Expose him and put myself in danger? Or let him get away with it and dishonor everything Mom worked for? Patricia sits down on my other side. Morgan, whatever you decide, I'm with you. If you want to walk away, I'll help you negotiate the best settlement possible. If you want to fight, I'll stand beside you in court. This is your decision. I look at the files spread around us, my mother's life work, her secret war against corruption. I think about the families destroyed by Victor Kushner's weapons, the 16 people killed by contaminated medication, the countless lives ruined by the criminals my father helped protect. And I think about Mom, working tirelessly in secret while appearing to everyone else as just a paralegal struggling to make ends meet. The bravest person I've ever known. Here's what we're going to do, I say, standing up. My voice is steady, certain. We're going to copy everything. 3 copies stored in different locations. Then we're going to bring this evidence to the FBI, the IRS, the Colorado Bar Association, and the Judicial Review Board simultaneously. We'll hit them all at once so Victor can't get ahead of it. Catherine nods approvingly. Smart. Overwhelming force. Multiple fronts. But before we do that, I continue, we're going back to court. Judge Morrison granted my father another delay until December 18th. That's 3 weeks away. I want Patricia to file a motion to reconsider, citing judicial bias. We'll include just enough evidence to make Morrison panic. You want to flip him, Catherine says, understanding dawning. Make him testify against your father in exchange for leniency. My mother taught me to be strategic. Morrison is the weak link. Once he breaks, my father's whole defense crumbles. Patricia is already taking notes. I'll file the motion tomorrow morning. Include documentation of the irregular rulings, the pattern of bias, and just enough about his financial connection to Victor to scare him. Meanwhile, Catherine adds, I'll arrange FBI protection for you. Your father will realize what's happening soon enough, and he'll respond aggressively. Over the next 3 weeks, we execute the plan with military precision. Patricia files the motion, and I watch Morrison's face in court turn ashen as he reads the evidence. He requests a private meeting, without my father present, and within 2 days, he's singing like a canary to federal investigators. The FBI raids Victor's office on a Tuesday morning. I'm not there to see it, but Patricia describes it with satisfaction. Agents carrying out boxes of files, Victor's computer seized, his accounts frozen. Philip Crane immediately distances himself from his client, claiming he knew nothing about the illegal activities. Rebecca files for divorce within 24 hours. Apparently, she did have some limits. My father requests a meeting with me 1 week before the inheritance hearing. Against everyone's advice, I agree. We meet in a conference room at Patricia's law office, with her present and FBI agents listening from the next room. Victor looks older than I've ever seen him. The silver in his hair seems more pronounced, the lines on his face deeper, but his eyes still hold that calculating intelligence that once terrified me. "You really are your mother's daughter," he says, almost admiringly. "I underestimated you. I thought you'd fold when the court costs got too high." "You underestimated Mom, too," I reply. "That was your biggest mistake." Diana was a remarkable woman. I did love her once, you know, before she became obsessed with destroying me. "She wasn't obsessed with destroying you. She was documenting your crimes. There's a difference." He leans back in his chair, studying me. "Here's what I don't understand. Why now? She could have used this evidence during the divorce. She could have destroyed me 14 years ago. Why wait until after her death?" "Because you threatened me, and she loved me more than she hated you." Something flickers across his face. Regret? Shame? It's gone too quickly to identify. "I need you to understand something, Morgan. The people I work for, the network your mother documented, they're not going to accept this quietly. Even with me in prison, you'll always be a target." The FBI seems confident in their protective measures. The FBI is confident in a lot of things until they're not. He leans forward. "I'm offering you a deal. Destroy the evidence. Let this case resolve quietly. In exchange, I'll make sure the network knows you're off limits. I still have that much influence." "You want me to let you get away with everything? Betray Mom's memory?" "I want you to survive. Diana's dead, Morgan. Nothing you do will bring her back. Is revenge worth your life?" For a moment, just a moment, I consider it. The easy path, the safe path. Let him win, take whatever settlement he offers, disappear into a normal life. Then I think about the 16. People killed by contaminated medication. The weapons Victor Kushner sold that ended up in war zones. The families destroyed by the criminals my father protected. All the people who never got justice because men like Victor Thornton helped evil people hide their crimes. Mom spent 14 years gathering this evidence, I say. She died protecting it so I'd have the choice she never did. I choose to use it. I choose justice, even if it costs me. Victor's expression hardens. "Then you're a fool. You'll regret this decision." "Maybe, but I'll regret it with a clear conscience." He stands, buttoning his suit jacket. "When this all falls apart, and it will, don't say I didn't warn you." After he leaves, Patricia squeezes my shoulder. That took courage. Or stupidity. I'm still not sure which. Catherine enters from the adjacent room, where she's been monitoring. "For what it's worth, your mother would be proud. Diana spent years building that evidence, knowing she'd never see justice served. You're finishing what she started. The final hearing happens on a Thursday morning in December, but it's not Judge Morrison presiding. He's been removed from the bench pending investigation. Instead, Judge Felicia Brennan, no relation to my mother, oddly enough, sits at the bench, her expression stern and impartial. The courtroom is packed. Word has gotten out about the scope of the case. Federal prosecutors sit in the gallery, ready to file formal charges the moment the hearing concludes. Reporters line the back row, notebooks ready. Victor sits alone at the defense table. Philip Crane withdrew as his counsel, and no other attorney in Colorado would touch the case. He's representing himself, and it shows in his rumpled suit and the exhaustion in his eyes. Patricia stands with confidence I've never seen from her before. She presents the evidence methodically, piece by piece, building an overwhelming case. The fake medical inconsistencies Victor claimed never existed. The delays, purely tactical attempts to locate and destroy evidence. The entire legal battle, a cover for attempted obstruction of justice. Your Honor, Patricia concludes, Diana Brennan's final will and testament is clear and unambiguous. She was of sound mind when she drafted it. The medical records confirm this beyond any doubt. Mr. Thornton's objections were never made in good faith, but rather as part of a broader criminal conspiracy to hide evidence of his illegal activities. We request that the will be enforced as written, and that Mr. Thornton be held accountable for his abuse of the court system. Judge Brennan doesn't hesitate. Having reviewed the evidence submitted by both parties, and I use the term both parties loosely, as Mr. Thornton has provided nothing of substance, this court finds no legitimate basis for the challenges to Diana Brennan's will. The medical records are comprehensive and unambiguous. Mrs. Brennan was clearly of sound mind and body when she executed her final wishes. She pauses, looking directly at my father with an expression of pure contempt. Furthermore, it's abundantly clear that Mr. Thornton has abused this court's procedures for purposes having nothing to do with legitimate legal concerns. His actions constitute a mockery of our justice system and a profound disrespect to the memory of the deceased. Victor's face remains impassive, but I can see his hands clenching beneath the table. The will is hereby validated in its entirety, Judge Brennan continues. All assets of Diana Brennan's estate shall pass to her daughter, Morgan Thornton, as specified in the testamentary documents. Mr. Thornton's claims are dismissed with prejudice. Additionally, Mr. Thornton is ordered to pay all legal fees and court costs incurred by Ms. Thornton in defending this frivolous action. She bangs her gavel once, sharply. Court is adjourned. The courtroom erupts. Reporters rush for the doors. Federal agents move toward Victor, who remains seated, staring straight ahead. Patricia embraces me, tears in her eyes. "We won," she whispers. "Against all odds, we won." But the victory feels hollow somehow, because I know this is just the beginning. The federal case will take years. The criminal network my father worked for won't just disappear, and I'll spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder, wondering if today is the day they come for revenge. Catherine appears at my side. "FBI has a safe house ready. We can move you tonight." I can't live in hiding forever. "No, but you can live in hiding until we've rounded up the major players in Victor's network. Give us 6 months, maybe a year. We'll make it so you can come back." Outside the courthouse, reporters swarm with questions. Patricia runs interference while Catherine guides me to an unmarked car. As we drive away, I take one last look at the building where I've spent the last 8 months fighting for my mother's legacy. Victor stands on the courthouse steps, handcuffed, being led away by federal agents. For just a moment, our eyes meet. I expect to see hatred there, or anger. Instead, I see something unexpected. Acceptance. Maybe even a trace of respect. He nods once, barely perceptible, an acknowledgement that I've beaten him at his own game. Then he's gone, disappeared into the federal vehicle that will take him to jail to await trial. 6 months later, I stand in my mother's bungalow in Boulder, my bungalow now. The FBI has given me clearance to return. 18 members of Victor's network have been arrested. 7 more are still at large, but Catherine assures me they're more concerned with their own survival than with revenge. The mahogany desk sits in my living room, its secret compartments now empty. The evidence has been turned over to prosecutors. Trials are ongoing. My father pleaded guilty to 12 counts of money laundering and conspiracy, accepting a 28-year sentence rather than risk a trial that would have exposed even more of his crimes. Sometimes I still check over my shoulder out of habit. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, certain I heard something. But mostly, I'm learning to live again. Patricia visits every week, bringing case files from new probate battles. She's building a practice specializing in inheritance disputes involving hidden assets and family corruption. Business is booming. "Your mother would be proud," she tells me over coffee one Saturday morning. "You finished what she started." She did the hard part. I just followed the roadmap she left. Don't sell yourself short. Diana gave you the evidence, but you had the courage to use it. That's the hard part. The doorbell rings. I tense automatically, but Catherine had called ahead. She enters with someone I don't recognize, a young woman, maybe 19, with anxious eyes. "Morgan, this is Rachel Chen. Her father worked with Victor, and she found some of his files after he died. Files her father kept as insurance. She needs help." I look at Rachel's frightened face and see myself 8 months ago. Another daughter, another corrupt father, another desperate search for justice. "Tell me everything," I say, gesturing to the couch. As Rachel begins her story, I realize this is my purpose now. Mom didn't just leave me an inheritance of money and property. She left me a mission, to help others trapped in the same kind of corruption that almost destroyed both of us. The mahogany desk behind me stands silent, its compartments empty, but its purpose fulfilled. 4 generations of my family used it to keep secrets. My mother used it to expose them. Now I'll use it as a reminder. That truth, however long buried, eventually finds the light. That evening, after Rachel leaves with Patricia to file the necessary legal motions, I sit alone in the gathering darkness. I pull out my phone and open the photos, pictures of Mom from throughout her life. Young and fierce in her Navy uniform, hopeful on her wedding day, before she knew who Victor really was. Tired, but determined during the divorce. Peaceful in those final hospice days, knowing she'd done everything she could to protect me and expose the truth. I did it, Mom, I whisper to the empty room. Justice took longer than either of us wanted, but we got there. Your evidence, your sacrifice, it mattered. You mattered. My phone buzzes. A text from Catherine. 3 more arrests today. The network is falling apart. You're safe now. Safe. The word feels foreign, but wonderful. For the first time in longer than I can remember, I believe it might be true. I walk to the mahogany desk and run my fingers over its smooth surface, feeling the history carved into its wood. Generations of secrets, both kept and revealed. My mother's legacy, now mine to carry forward. Tomorrow, I'll help Rachel Chen. Next week, Catherine has 2 more cases for me. Children of corrupt attorneys who need someone who understands what they're going through. The work will never really end. There will always be powerful people hiding crimes, and there will always be brave people fighting to expose them. But tonight, I allow myself to simply exist in this moment, to feel the weight of victory mixed with grief, to honor my mother's memory not just by using the evidence she gathered, but by continuing the fight she started. The death stands solid and enduring, holding decades of family history and, for a brief time, the evidence that brought down a criminal empire. Mom used it to store secrets that changed everything. Now it's just furniture again. Beautiful, antique, meaningful. A reminder of what was and what could have been and what finally became true. Justice. Not perfect, not complete, but real. That's enough. That has to be enough. And somehow I think Mom would agree.